Welcome back to another episode of the Baker and the Banker podcast. I'm Jenny Keller of Jenny Cookies, and this is my mortgage guy, Dan.
Hey, today is going to be super special. You and I, about 3 weeks ago, went to the Friends Experience in Seattle, which prompted us to do a little bit of research. And, well, not research. We go on walks every night, and we start talking about friends and friendships. And you have the absolute best friend that God has ever made in the history of friends. And so we thought about it, and it just so happened that she was in town this week. So, two things today. We have an incredible topic on friendship, number one. Number two, this is the first time we've ever had a guest on our podcast. And so before we introduce Heather and how amazing she is and start today's show, I want to read this to you because I think this is so important. Jenny and I came across this statistic after we decided that we were going to talk about friendship. Research shows that a lack of social connection is a greater detriment to health than obesity, smoking, and high blood pressure. A strong social connection leads to, get this, 50% increase in longevity, and it actually strengthens the immune system. Is that why you're so healthy? Because you have Heather as a friend?
I would never say.
Guys, at the end of the day, humans thrive on social connection. And so today is all about friendship and health and social connection. So I will let you introduce the best friend in the history of friends, Heather Carmen.
Welcome, Heather, straight from Austin.
The Baker, the Banker, and the Bestie.
It has a ring. It has a ring. So you guys are going to wonder, how did you meet Heather? In fact, I've had that message several times because if you follow on social, you know that we have traveled together for many years. We meet up now in different states because she moved away. But Heather, I want you to tell everybody how we met.
Well, I kind of manifested it. I made it happen. I'm a big believer in if you want something, make it happen. But I met basically the same way probably a lot of you listening knew Jenny. I followed her blog and loved watching the old Keller farmhouse get built and watching you raise your kids. And I didn't realize you were local. And when you opened the bake shop and you had that opening, I was like, oh my gosh, this is an opportunity for me. Like, I got to be this girl's friend. Like, you were fun. You had great style. And I just loved everything you did. And I knew that I wanted to be a part of it in any way. So I literally had never baked in my life.
And we hired her.
And I remember going and getting like a box of like Betty Crocker like cake mix, and at the time the Trolls movie had just come out, and I pretended that I knew how to make troll cupcakes. They were awful. Like, we've got to pull up a photo because I included
Oh my
them.
gosh.
But they were terrible. But I just took a leap of faith, and I just said this is something I wanted to do for myself, and then I really wanted to get to know you better. And it was funny because our first interview
was
like,
awkward because I didn't know how to do interviews.
Well, no, but like I left there and I was like, knew we were going to be, you know how you just meet people?
Yes, you
and
know
it's
when
like,
you know.
You have a connection right away. Yeah. So I felt like instantly after we met, I knew like we were going to be friends.
Well, I have to give Dan some credit because you did send in your portfolio with those troll cupcakes. And I'm like, she hasn't worked at a bakery. Like, she has no experience. And Dan's like, well, let me see it. And what did you see?
Well, I didn't see the troll cupcakes. What I did see, I didn't see any of that.
Delicious.
I saw, and we talked about this on a previous
Yeah,
episode,
we did.
I saw Nordstrom as your previous employer. Yeah. And I'm in business and I'm in sales, and customer service is really big in my business. And I know what Nordstrom employees have to go through the Nordstrom sales training. I was like, hire her. No matter what, just hire her. She's going to be amazing. And I didn't know what you looked like. I didn't know anything about your awesome troll cupcakes. I just knew that you would be valuable. And
I
she
am
was.
so glad that you encouraged me. See, Dan's actually responsible for our friendship.
It's true because I think when you're an adult too, like you have very few places that you can go to make friends. It's harder to find people when you're an adult to be your friend, right? Like it's either through your job, which is like a third of your time that you spend, right?
Yep.
So you want it to be with people. I always feel like I've picked my jobs around who I want to be friends with. Like,
love that.
I'm going to work here because I want to be their friend.
Yes.
And that's why I worked at Nordstrom, because I had just moved to Seattle area and I wanted to make friends. And I still to this day love and adore minorities girls. Yeah. And now, you know, have this new chapter with the bake shop with all of these friends that I've gained that feel like family. I call them family.
Yeah, I love
Your
that.
friends you turn into family.
Yes. Well, as we go through life, there's, I mean, so many things that we can't control, right? We can't control who our parents are, what our genetics are, the things that happen around us, but we can control who we're friends with. And that can go one of two ways. Like you can have friends that make your lives rich and beautiful, or you can have friends that cause you stress and disappointment. So today I thought we should talk about how to choose friends who enrich our lives and make them more beautiful. And nobody on earth has more friends than Heather. Not kidding.
I love people. I love being around people. But Jenny always has taught me actually that like you should always go to people that feel like sunshine. And that always has stuck with me because I feel that if you find people that make you feel like the best version of yourself, you do anything to make that work.
Yep.
You know, you go the extra mile. You friends are extra milers, just
Yep.
like the Keller manifesto, right?
That's right.
You have to go the extra mile to make that work. And those are the people that are worth it. It's an investment, just like your marriage, right? You have to invest the time. I mean, we know,
Yep.
you know, through any obstacle, you have to be able to invest your time in making sure that that person remains in your life,
Yep.
you know, if you want them to.
To have a friend, you got to be a friend.
Exactly.
We always say that. So I love talking about connection. We've talked about that before. I mean, that's why I love social media. I feel connected to my audience there. I love the bake shop for that reason because I feel connected to customers there. But
Jenny is the ultimate connector.
I love introducing people to other people that I think they're going to like.
Anyone that's ever met Jenny, like, or done something with Jenny, you can't go anywhere without making friends. Like, we will be on an airplane, and before we get off the plane, we have 5 new numbers, friends that we're going to spend the weekend with that we weren't planning on.
This is true.
She is the biggest connector, connects everyone.
I actually had our Uber driver from New York 4 years ago message me. His name's Jimmy. And just to check in, he called me yesterday while I was driving just to check in. But I think when you find people, you keep them, right? Doesn't mean we talk all the time, but you just never know who you're going to meet, you know? So,
But you make friends everywhere you go.
I try, but I feel like you do such a good job at like maintaining them and actually having this huge, deep relationship with them where I don't talk to Jimmy every day. You know, it's just here and there.
So the difference of like a close friend.
That's true.
Or what did we say? There's close friends and
Yeah.
then there's best friends.
Yes. And then there's like acquaintances. Yes, there's a lot of that.
I'm always
And then
curious.
there's Heather that goes and then she moves to Austin, leaves us, and you moved this last year, and you're not even there a month, and Jenny pulls up, I think it was social media, or yeah, it was your Instagram, and she's like, oh my gosh, look at Heather. 1 month
1,000
in,
new friends in
she's-
1 month.
she's already hosting the block party. That's incredible.
I feel like I've gotten this from you a little bit from Jenny, but I feel like I just love meeting new people, hearing their stories, like taking that time. Like a big part of being a friend is just being a listener, you know,
Yeah.
not talking, listening to them. And where I moved, most people are transplants like me. So everybody has a story, right? And it's so fun to learn that story and be a part of their new chapter. And it's just the people, you know, I just love people. If you just look for the good in people, you see it.
It's true. When she first started working at the bake shop, I mean, we weren't best friends right away, but we would work together and she would talk about her best friend and she would say, oh, my best friend works there. My best friend just had this trip, or I just went here with my best friend, or my best friend has, you know, this dog or this cat or this kid or whatever. And she'd always talk about her best friend. And I'm like, my God, your best friend is like amazing. Like they do all of these things. Well, turns out it was like 300 best friends. It wasn't just one person. Even a week ago, I'm looking at her Instagram and she's like, oh, my best friend Cynthia's here for a week. And I'm like, who is Cynthia? I've never even heard of Cynthia.
I think that I probably hold my friends a little closer because I don't have a lot of family and I don't have a lot of family that I'm super connected with. So like I said, I create my family. Like friends are the family you get to choose.
It's true.
And
We're
so
family, right?
we are definitely family.
We're like sisters.
For sure.
Well, I love that. So I looked it up because I was curious how many people, like what's a normal amount of close friends? And it says your brain can actually only handle the capacity of 5 close friends.
Wow,
So your
I'm a
brain
genius.
is, yes, right? I don't think I could do more than 5 because I can't keep up with that many like relationships. I think like those everything that's going on in everybody's lives, but somehow Heather does.
Well, it's all in timing. So I think that how much time you have available kind of depends on how many friendships you have.
That's true.
You don't have a lot of time. So like usually your time for friendship is sometimes also tied in with work, you know?
I make a lot of friends with work. I do what you
you're
do.
always
Like
working.
if you want to be friends, we actually have to work together. If we want to travel together, we have to do work. That's
For
just the way we
those
do it.
People that don't work, and there's probably a lot of people watching right now that have a little bit more time to invest into those friendships, and that kind of is their value in their work, you know,
Right.
who they are to other people and what they can provide or what value they can bring to other people.
Yes.
And that's kind of how I see a lot of my success is through my
Friendship success. I love it.
Yeah, that's my vision plan, Dan.
I love it.
Well, I always love that quote that says friends for a reason, friends for a season, and friends for a lifetime. And I can think through my life of different seasons of my life where when Allie was a baby, I remember having a super close friend because she had a baby that was the same age. So we did everything together. We went to the children's museum. We did preschool classes. We'd go to the beach together. Like it worked. And then as your kids get older, I remember having my volleyball moms because our kids were on the same team and we traveled together and we did that. Or you have the seasons where you work with certain people, and those are those like friends for a reason or friends for a season. Not that you don't like them. It's just you go through a different season or you don't play volleyball anymore, so the reason is gone. But then there's those friends that are friends for a lifetime, and I think those are like my 5.
I think most
You're
people
500.
would have 5. No. I think most people have 5 in the lifetime category because otherwise there's always friends that come and go. And, you know, part of friendship is also like knowing when to let go of certain friends, you know, as a friendship become toxic, and is it time to say goodbye, and how do you do that? But the ones that aren't, those are your 5 closest friends, the ones that you continue to invest in.
Well, I remember, so we were talking about vision planning a couple of episodes ago, and I remember when I did my goal setting in 2019, 2020, because you were giving me a hard time that I don't have a lot of friends, and I really don't. So
I'm your
on
friend, Dan. You're
I'm
my
so
friend.
happy. I
You're
got
my
one.
I'm making you a bestie.
Oh,
mug.
can I be one? I made the list. That is incredible. But I'm on the other end of the spectrum as Heather. And it is because I am so busy at work. And then when I do have free time, I don't golf. I don't have any crazy time consuming habits. I'm involved with the family and stuff. And then so maybe supporting, Jenny Cookies. And so when I think of this idea of friends and what you guys are talking about with the season, the friends, what is it again? Friends for a reason.
Friends for a season.
Friends for a lifetime.
Okay. So I was talking about this the other day with a friend, and I think that.
Wait, what? With who?
With a friend.
So he does have one.
So I have one.
What's his name? Is he
His
your
name's
bestie?
Zach.
Zach, we love you, Zach.
He came to the
Best friend, Zach.
rescue.
Shout out, Zach.
But we were talking, and the idea around certain people, they'll come into your lives, and I think you hang on. I think you just said this, Heather, when certain people, like people will come and go, but the ones that make an impact or the ones that help carry on that next best version of you, you hold on to. And that's been my thing is in 2019, I put together my business plan. And there's 7 parts of it. We talked about it on vision planning, spirituality and money and work and family, personal, so self. There is a category on friends. And I scored a 0.
Oh, sad.
And so I put that on there as one of my goals. And in 2020, I didn't accomplish that goal. It was one in my top 3. But one of them was to talk to my mom more, for example. The other one was to get back to dating Jenny once a week. And then the third was go add a friend. You need to go find a friend. By 2021, Zach and I became friends. So I was focusing on it.
How did you go meet Zach? Like, where did you find Zach?
I already knew Zach, and Zach and I were friends because he's a real estate broker, but we had done a lot of business together and we were connecting. I got him into that same coaching program. But Zach spiritually is one, and he's young. Like at the time, he was 29.
Oh, age doesn't matter with friendships.
It doesn't.
I love my 80-year-old friends. They're some of my favorites. They're my favorites. They're so funny.
Yes. And wise.
All the advice.
Well, that was the thing. So I never looked at Zach as being a friend because I kind of mentored him in business. As he got into real estate, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, I kind of helped mentor him.
Yeah.
Well, as I was growing and encountering some adversity in my life in 2019, 2020, Zach shows up out of the blue, spiritually wiser than anyone I've ever met.
He was your gift from
He
God.
was my gift from God. And the guy should be a pastor. In fact, he was a youth pastor before he got into real estate. And so he started mentoring me in the Bible and in my spiritual walk. And we became friends out of that. But I never looked at Zach as going, okay, I want to be friends with him.
It doesn't
It
happen
just
that
happened,
way.
right?
Yeah,
Isn't that cool?
It's a natural progression. And it all depends on, like, I think the saying of, like, you know, a good friend is someone that, you know, understands your past, accepts your present, and believes in your future.
Yeah.
And that's what you find. You look for someone that has been through maybe a little trauma with you in the past or something hard, and then someone that accepts who you are today. And a lot of times that's through a transition. We're always changing. We're always, like Jenny says, practice makes progress.
That's right.
We're always getting better. And somebody that believes in that and encourages that and wants to see you achieve more. And those are your lifelong friends. That's why I love all of those people.
I'm so lucky to have you as a friend. You have such a gift for telling people like what they mean to you. I can't even count how many screenshots I have of text messages that Heather has sent me, these beautiful, heartfelt, big messages. I love that about you.
Well, life is short and we're never promised tomorrow, right? And I really feel lately like I've been really, you know, blessed with each day you get, and you have to remind the people you love them. And it's like everyone should take today and just go do that. Tell an old friend. I try to do that with, like, I have friends I grew up my whole life with that I'll just pull up and say, like, hey, I miss you. How are you? Know, it's just taking that effort and that time, because I think that there's also a time is the biggest thing that gets in the way with friendships. Because Dan, the reason you only have one, two, including me, is because time. You know, it's like the 5 F's. They have like faith, family, friendship, finances, and free time. And your free time is always last. Right? Our friendship sometimes becomes last in that.
So do you like set aside a certain time of day? Like, I want to be a better friend. I'm going to start sending these nice texts to people. It's true. Maybe you have to, just to like get yourself in the routine of it.
Especially if it's a goal of yours, Dan. It's all about, like, you're prioritizing, right? If friendship is a goal, and it should be, because family and friends are literally the reason we live, the connection, what you're saying. It's what keeps you healthy. It's what keeps you thriving, growing.
Yeah.
So if you're prioritizing, then I think it should be like a devotional. You know, like you set aside a time of your day to tell your friends that you love them. And
well, I think this is a really good segue into one of my favorite quotes on friendship that I learned a long time ago from Zig Ziglar. Like you were saying, set aside some time. I love Zig. Stinking thinking guy. Remember? I loved your text on it.
Check up from the neck up.
Check up from the neck up. But you were just talking about deepening your relationships with your friends and time blocking that, making sure that is really important to me. And I'm going to actually take that down as a note and be more intentional to connect with my friends. But Zig Ziglar always said this. So kind of to frame why I'm going to tell you this, you were just talking a minute ago about, like, you don't just go out and find friends. You go out and you nurture relationships, and they could turn into best friend type relationships.
like you and Zach.
Like me and Zach. How I got a greater connection with Zach was, and when my goal in 2019 to go out and go get some friends, I wasn't going to go searching for friends. The idea and what Zig Ziglar talks about is to go out and just be a friend. Just go be more friendly or friendlier to others, and you might find some friends. And that's what I did. With Zach, I was more friendly. We went and did a happy hour instead. And we talked about a lot about business, but during those happy hours, I got to see his spiritual leadership. I'm like, holy cow, there's some value here. I love this about him, which attracted me more to him, made me want to be more friendlier. And the next thing you know, I went out to be a friend and then got a great resource, a great friend in return. So I think that's a big tip for finding friends.
Just go be a friend to everyone. And I feel like that's a little bit of the Texan way. If there's any Texans listening, they just are friends everywhere you go. And so literally the grocery store, you're going to make a friend, like no choice. Like,
so do you get your phone out and like take their phone number?
Like, how do you take it to that next level?
Yeah.
Like, it's like dating.
Well, I'm just curious because she said, you have got to go grocery shopping with me when you come visit me in Austin. It's nothing like Seattle. Everybody's kind of head down here, not talking to people. I talk to people,
I think a
but
good way to
not everybody does.
A good way to think of this is like, I am sure you remember this because you were at once a stay-at-home mom with littles.
Yes.
And when I was that, I was like so desperate because, you know, I love talking with people, being around people. And moms sometimes can be really like lonely, you know, because your babies don't talk back to you.
Yeah.
And I remember going to the park in our neighborhood, and it's like if another mom was there, I was like, oh my gosh, this could be my new best friend. I was like the creepy girl in the corner that's like, please ask for my number. I want to hang out with you. So I would just you have to take those opportunities and be open to meeting those people. And yes, sometimes you push yourself out of your comfort zone, and not everyone is an extrovert. I think I definitely would probably say I'm an extrovert. There's a lot of introverts out there that are very uncomfortable with that. So then they need the extrovert to come say like, hey, we're going to be friends.
That is why we make a pair. Because I'm a total introvert and you're the extrovert.
Yes.
That's why we work.
But you're like an introverted extrovert. You're not really like an introvert.
Like I can be an extrovert, but I'm really deep down like love to be alone.
You identify as an introvert.
Yes. Yeah, she has to recharge.
I do. I have to recharge. I know that about myself. Yes. I can do it all day long, but then I need to be able to retreat and just have like quiet. Yeah. Like when we travel, Heather knows I love her so much, but like I have to have my own hotel room.
Always. I would never. I wouldn't even sit on here.
I don't even.
I'm weird like that. I have to be able to like have my own time. I just need a break for a minute and then I'll be ready again. I'm weird like that. And you and even Kelly, both of you guys are always like people all the time. And Kelly would be like knocking on my door, like, are you ready? Is it time? Like, can we be together again? Yes. But you are such a good friend. You do so many things well. I think you're such a good listener and you are so empathetic to people, where that's a difference between us. Like, I feel like I'm more of a fixer, and with your friends, I've shared so many things with you where you've just like listened and like let it digest before you ever say anything, which is huge for people because like Bob Goff always says, like a lot of people need like love and acceptance way more than they need advice. And sometimes we just need somebody to listen to us. Dan and I are both advice givers. I sit there and I listen to somebody and I'm already thinking like, how could I solve this problem for them? Because I don't want them to be sad, or I don't want them to be hurt, or I don't want them to be struggling. And so
the best thing you can do is just say, do you want a solution or do you just want someone to listen?
Oh, that's good.
It's like one of those things that sometimes you do. You're talking to someone because you need your friend to give you the next steps as to what to do. Yeah. And you're looking for that. And sometimes you just need someone to listen.
Yes.
And hear you out, and you don't need to respond, you know, or how can you, learn how to better control, like you can't control your emotions, but you can control your reactions to your emotions.
Right.
And I think part of being a friend is that's a huge component.
It reminds me of the thing you taught me years ago about 411 and 911.
What you taught me. I brought the idea home, but you were like...
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I brought this idea home because it was from one of my coaches, and he was talking about his marriage. And he'd been married for 20 plus years, and I don't know if one of the other people on the call was having a rough time in their marriage. And he was like, let me ask you a question. He was like, when your wife comes home and she vents or says something to you, how do you respond? And he was like, well, I make her feel better. And he goes, well, what do you mean by that? And he tries to fix everything. And he was like, you know what? There's this idea called, is it a 911 or is it a 411? And he was like, from now on, if you have to ask your wife, ask her, but listen first, and then you can identify it in your mind. Is it really a 911? Like, is a kid bleeding to death and you need to, run them to the emergency room? Or is the kid just bugging you to death and she just wants to vent? That's a 411. So, yeah, I brought that home to you, and I was like, I promise you, I am the 911 guy all the time. Whenever you talk, and I'm like, okay, fine, I can do this. Then why don't you, like, when you would talk to me about your business, I'd be like, duh, do this. And you're like, I don't want to do that. I just wanted to vent. Yeah. I just wanted to share something
Sometimes
with you.
you just need the operator.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. We just saw Jay Shetty at the Moore Theater in Seattle. And one thing he said, and he talks about this on his social media, one little quote was, stay close to people who want more for you, not from you. I love that about friendship. Like, you have to go in and find those people. And we've talked a lot about like, show us your friends and we'll show you your future. And you want to find those like encouraging friendships that believe in your vision, that believe in your standards, that believe in your values, that, are going to get behind you and want the best for you. I love that.
I love that so much. And I think that's where it's important with friendships. Like, obviously you've said, I like to have a lot of friends, but it's really quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Like, even Dan, if you have the one best friend, that's all you need. You know, you just need that one person. And, you know, for people out there that might be struggling to find that person, it just takes time.
Yeah.
You know, and keep trying, keep meeting different people. And you might be surprised with who you connect with. Like, I have friends from different areas in life that, like, I never thought I would be this close with.
Yep.
But there's something there, you know? And you just keep going back.
It is really true about the seasons, because there's been times when Allie was a baby and I just had, like, my mom was kind of my only friend at that time, you know, and then you go through stages where we had the bake shop or this and that, and we have all these friends and we're having all these parties and all these things. So it's just, you're going to go through those different seasons in life and have different relationships with those certain people in them. But
speaking of Jay Shetty, so I was going to say this before you mentioned this earlier, but one of the things that Jay did when we went and saw is it called Love Rules?
Yep.
Yeah, his new book and his new show, Love Rules Tour.
He did this amazing, if you don't know who Jay Shetty is, he's like a motivational speaker and author, and he was a former monk, and he just shares a lot of great wisdom. And Dan and I had never gone to a motivational show like this, so we had no idea what to expect. And he pulled from the audience throughout the night 3 or 4 different times, depending on what the topic was. And at the very end of the show, he said, is there anybody in your life that you need to tell them how much you love them? That was it. And everybody had to kind of raise their hand, and a lot of people did.
Okay, so then he picks out this one guy in the audience, raises his hand. He picks out this guy. And if I had to explain, he's probably like 40-year-old man, right? Not outgoing personality, just total dude. And so he comes up to him with the mic and he just says, okay, who is that one person? And we're all in the audience thinking, oh, some girl that he broke up with or whatever. And he goes, my sister. And he goes, he covered his mic and he whispered something in his ear and basically was like asking him if he mind coming up on stage and talking more about it. And the guy said, yes. So he brings this guy up on stage and he's talking to him about how much his sister means. And he was basically, when they were raised, they weren't raised to express love. So we don't know anything more than that. But evidently mom and dad just probably were not real lovey, and we don't know anything else. But nonetheless, he needed to call his sister. In Texas, maybe. So he ends up.
He said, will you call your
Wait, he
sister?
goes, will you call your sister right now? And he was like,
on stage in front of
right
2,000
now,
people.
Yeah, in front of 2,000 people right now. And he was like, yeah. So he pulls out his phone and he dials his sister.
Oh, wait, I don't have her number.
He calls her and literally live, microphones on the phone, and she picks up. And he goes, hey.
Thank goodness, can you imagine?
Right?
Just like
well, he even said it. He goes, hey, either leave her a voice. If it goes to voicemail, leave her a voicemail. But just let her know. Tell her that how much you love her and how much you appreciate her. And I've been meaning to tell you this. So anyways, the guy does this. His sister picks up. And I'm like, literally, I'm not an emotional guy. Like, my eyes are filling up with tears. Like, this was super emotional. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing. She picks up and she was like, and he's never told her that he loves her. And she was like, you have no idea how much I needed to hear this right now.
Oh, everybody needs to hear that. Everybody.
It was so good.
That's why it's so impactful and why you got emotional, because it's something we all want to hear. Yeah. So I think that as a friend, you give what you want to get. You know?
It's like love languages, kind of.
Yes, I just learned mine after episode 1, 2, guys. Where are we at? But I think that you give what what you want to get. And I think that part of that is hearing those things, especially if that is your love language.
And especially for a guy to say that too.
That's helpful to know of your friends too. Like, I know Jenny's love language, and even though obviously we're not in marriage, but a friendship is a relationship.
Oh, for sure.
Just like that, right? And so I think it's important to know that about your friends and know how they want to be. Like, maybe the sister has a different love language, right? Like, she doesn't want to be told it. But everybody loves to hear that.
It was really sweet.
Tell your friends you love them. Yeah. Like, doesn't need to be a stigma around that. Like, love you, man.
Love you, bro.
So I think Heather just gave you guys your challenge for the week.
That's it.
What's the big challenge, Heather?
Oh gosh, what is it?
Oh.
Tell someone, find somebody in your life.
Yep.
A friend.
A friend.
Yeah.
Are we?
It could even be a
challenging them to
family
find
member.
A new friend, or
No.
are we finding an old friend?
I
And
would say that the challenge.
Dan needs the challenge.
No, I think we do that, Heather. I think you reach out to a friend and let them know that you love them and how much they mean to you.
How important they are.
How important they are to you.
Write out
Yeah.
that long, gushy text.
Oh my gosh, the text. And your friend's going to get that and they're going to screenshot it because they don't want to forget it. I have a whole folder of Heather's texts.
And that's how you take your close friends and make them your family. You have to continually do that, and it's important to remind the people that.
Yes, you just never know how much longer you have.
And
We say that a lot, but it's true.
Everybody needs to hear that every day, how important they are.
It's a good challenge. And that could be a text. It could be a phone call, a voicemail, an email, a handwritten letter. Just try it this week. Maybe try it if you're an overachiever. If you're a number 3 Enneagram, you can. I'm going to text everybody.
Find out your friend's Enneagram too.
Yes.
What's the
Or their love language, either of them.
EnneagramTest.net or something like that.
If you Google it,
Yeah.
it's something will come up. It's a good one. It's a good one. I love it.
That allows you to be a better friend.
Yes, for sure. And knowing their favorites. That'll be another podcast maybe. Or should we tell them about Dan's texts about the favorites or Heather's texts? I taught it to Dan. She will say, she's just so thoughtful. I'm going to say one more thing about Heather before we end. She will
So
show
glad I'm
up
here.
with all your favorite things. And you're like, how do you know this? At the beginning of the year, she'll just randomly send you a text and be like, oh, I'm just updating my favorites. Can you tell me what your favorite soda is and your favorite snack and your favorite dessert and what favorite show you have right now and, your favorite thing to do and your favorite hobby. And then suddenly she'll pick you up in the airport and she's got Doritos and she's got Taylor Swift playing and she's got a disco ball spinning and we're headed straight to the mall. It's just all the things that I love. And she was prepared and she had everything for Allie and everything for Claire. And that's the kind of friend Heather is. I've stolen that and sent it around to people because it is kind of nice to refer back. And I have a bad memory, but just to do that little something extra special for people.
I just keep it in the notes under their contact on my phone. So
It's
it's like your name, your address, your phone number, and then all your things.
I love it.
It's good too, because if it's someone that maybe isn't a best friend yet, but
Yes.
you have that info, it's
Yes.
like how you take them to the next level because it's
That's right.
conversation starters. Did you see the new Dorito out in the store?
Yes. It's so true. I love that little tip. That's a good one. Go find somebody's favorites this week. And then when it's they're having a bad day, you send them a box of Doritos.
Or just send out yours even. Get it started. Say,
Yeah.
"Here's
How
my
about
favorite."
in the description of this podcast, you put the text message that you send people that just has the list of items.
Okay.
And then you just copy, paste, and send.
You can, or you can choose your own adventure. What's your favorite donut? What's your favorite ice cream? You say what's your favorite fast food? And then Heather's famous for this. Donuts will show up at your door.
Yeah.
Even from Austin. She just always knows. So I'm so grateful to have you as a friend and so glad you got to come and be on the podcast today. I hope it's not the last time. And I'm glad that you got an extra friend today.
I picked up another. I love it.
Might be in the best category now.
Oh my God. That's so fun.
You guys, thanks for listening. It's been another great episode. We'll be back next week with the Baker and the Banker podcast. Goodbye.